What is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Weekend Roundup here on Touchline Talk. As always, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of my content. Two games to discuss today, starting with the Manchester Derby. It is Manchester City coming from behind to beat Manchester United. Don't have too much on the game itself. Obviously, important win for Manchester City to keep pace in the title race in a weekend where Darwin Nunez scores the late winner for Liverpool for them to continue to put the pressure on City and Arsenal. City are clearly the better team. Ultimately, over the 90 minutes, that was what showed Phil Foden was phenomenal. And even in that first half, when Manchester United took the lead, Holland had another baffling miss. There were opportunities for City. It's not like they had a horrible first half where they didn't create anything. And then ultimately, Foden really shines. They get the goals and the win. What I do want to talk about coming out of this game, though, is big picture for Manchester United. Because that was what I was really left thinking about. Whether Eric Ten Hag is the manager moving forward or not, there is a big decision that needs to be made by Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos. Now that they are officially the owners in charge of the football operation side of Manchester United. And that decision is this: are they going to continue to allow Manchester United to play and strategize in a way that is in no way, shape, or form befitting one of the biggest clubs in the world? Eric Ten Hag at Ajax had his team playing some of the best football, soccer in the world. It was the polar opposite of the counter-attacking, boring, defensive-minded stuff you saw from Mourinho, that you saw from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, that didn't really change under Ralph Radnick during the short time he was there. The negative kind of stuff. And Ten Hag has come in, and it looked like for a hot second there that he might be making progress toward getting this thing to evolve tactically. And then it became very clear, and has been clear for a while, that evolution was not coming. It is not coming. He has either decided he would prefer to play this way, or more likely, he has decided he can't play the way he wants to with this team, and so they are still a counterattacking team that doesn't know what to do when they can't play that way, or how to solve the problem when things like this game happen and they go from 1-0 up to 2-1 down, and now all of a sudden they have to chase the game, and Manchester City have all of the confidence and all the momentum. They have no response, no solution. It's the exact same thing that it's been under Solskjaer, which is why you see the ups, the downs. You can't really trust anything. And it is also why they struggle so much to beat lesser teams. But when they play Manchester City, when they play Liverpool, when they play Tottenham, they play some of the better teams in the Premier League, some of the better teams in Europe, they've had some success. Because they are a counter-attacking team that is built to have success against those teams. When they are the team that has to have the ball because they're playing Crystal Palace, or can go down the list, Brentford, that's where they get embarrassed and where they really struggle. Manchester United should not be a team that doesn't want the ball. That is against everything this club stands for, and just simply its sheer size and financial might. You should be able to put together a team that can actually do something with the ball. But that's not where they are right now. So whether it's Ten Hag or whether it's somebody else that gets brought in, part of this for Ineos and for Jim Ratcliffe is, are you okay continuing this way? Or are, as part of this evolution and trying to refocus on the actual product on the field, are you going to say, no, this has to stop because we are Manchester United and this is not how we play? That was what I came away from this game thinking about. Because it was not the only example, but another example of it does work sometimes. They've had some success against Manchester City. They've given other really good teams trouble. Other times they get run off the field. And when does that happen? That happens in games where they don't take the lead and hold on to it. Because now all of a sudden, you've got to open up and their defense falls apart because they're not built to play that way and they don't have the ability to play that way. So it looked like for a little bit there, they might have been able to get another one of the smash and grab, 1-0s with the counterattacking goal, brilliant goal from Marcus Rashford. And that City had these opportunities, but they couldn't take advantage in the first half. And then Phil Foden says, we're done with that. We're going to take our win. Thank you very much. And as soon as the goal started coming in, United had nothing in attack. Once the equalizer went in, it was a question of whether City were going to win. And once the second one went in, it's a question of how many City were going to score. It never felt like they were in danger once they got going. That's not who Manchester United should be. But it's where the club is at right now. And Erik ten Hag looked like he was going to be the guy that was going to change that for better or for worse. And he has not been that guy. So now it's up to Jim Ratcliffe, up to Ineos, to decide, are you okay being this club? Because Manchester United should not be a one-dimensional counter-attacking team. It is also fair to argue that right now it is their best chance of success. There's a reason why manager after manager has chosen to play this way. So that's the big decision. That's what I came away from this Manchester derby thinking about. Manchester City get the win, definitely the better team. Phil Foden shines again as they continue to put pressure on Liverpool and hang in the title race. The other game I want to mention for a little bit here, haven't talked too much about the W Gold Cup that is going on. So this is a good opportunity as the U.S. gets into the knockout stage and then beats Colombia to advance to the semifinals. Obviously, this is coming off of the horrible performance against Mexico. And it is a bold decision after that Mexico game to put Sophia Smith and Rose Lavelle, who I would argue are the two best players in this Gold Cup squad. If you want to have a conversation about best two players in the U.S. women's national team pool, different story with the healthy Katarina Macario, with a Mal Pugh, different conversation for a different day. But of the players available for this game, I don't think it's much of a debate who the best two are. And Twyla Kilgore left them both on the bench. If this had not gone well, off the back of the World Cup, off the back of the loss to Mexico, after leaving Smith and Lavelle on the bench, had they lost this game and looked bad, I think panic is the right word. I don't know what else you're supposed to, or how else you're supposed to respond. There was an awful lot of pressure, and some of this is self-invited. Self-inflicted isn't necessarily the right word. Self-invited is more accurate. The U.S. women's national team is bringing some of this on themselves, and I want to get into that conversation more depending on how the rest of this tournament goes. I don't want to have that conversation today. But part of that was the lineup that was chosen and picking Alex Morgan over Sophia Smith. But Alex Morgan was really, really good in this game, particularly in the first half. Obviously involved in the first two goals. Her hold-up play in general was really good. She more than justified this selection. That very few people saw coming or would have wanted to see, I would argue. But she earned her spot. There is no doubt about that. And generally, there was a level of confidence and a swagger with this team that you just haven't seen very much the past couple years. They came out with an intensity, got the early goals. They really, really took the game to Colombia early. Then Colombia kind of got their way back into it. And then the U.S. just kept scoring goals to really put the game out of reach. Was it a perfect performance? Absolutely not. There were a couple shaky moments defensively. Jenna Neiswanger, who scored a really nice goal, is looking really, really good at the left back spot, is simply still trying to figure out how to play the position because she's had, one professional season to play it, and that's not her natural position. So defensively, there were some shaky moments there, as good as she was going forward. Trinity Rodman could have been sent off in the first half on 2 different occasions. Got to have more composure, particularly after you got sent off in your regular season finale for your club team. There's a little bit of a trend going on here. That needs to stop. But the bigger point here is, with so much at stake, having the opportunity to exit a second consecutive tournament in less than a year without reaching the semifinals, this team showed up. This team delivered. It was partially the veterans. Already, Alex Morgan talked about how good she was. Alyssa Nair came up with a couple big saves in goal. And it was the young players. It was Neiswanger. It was Emily Fox, who continues to be really impressive. Naomi Girma, of course, is already the best center back on this team. Jaden Shaw has been really, really good in this tournament as well. She gets a goal. They haven't had many games like this against high-level opposition. And no, Colombia aren't England, Spain, Netherlands, Germany, the best teams in the world. But they're one of the better teams at this tournament. They had the best World Cup of any of the teams in this tournament, unless I'm missing something. They're good. And you haven't seen very many confident, comprehensive performances like this from the U.S. in the past couple years against high-level opposition. They can do it against the Vietnams and the Dominican Republics of the world. That doesn't tell you anything. The first significant opponent they played in this tournament, they fell flat on their face. But they got back up. They handled a very dangerous Colombia team. It felt like the U.S. women's national team again. And they just haven't felt like themselves a lot over the past couple years. You could argue that the Sweden game is an example of that, but the rest of the World Cup certainly wasn't. And I don't know where this goes from here, because they should win this tournament. But they also have 2 more good opponents to play in order for that to happen. So I'm saving my big picture thoughts until we actually know how this ends. But this team has gotten a lot of criticism, much of it justified, because it has not been good enough recently. And it could have gone into a whole nother level of criticism and questioning and wondering what in the world is going on had they lost this game. But they showed up, they showed out. No doubt who the better team was. They kind of cruised in the second half because they didn't need to score any more goals. Got some more young players in there, Olivia Moultrie, etc. So I do want to give this team credit. Yes, you expect to beat Colombia. It's not like they pulled some upset here. But they didn't just win. They did so in an impressive fashion. And there was a lot on the line. They had to win this game because they couldn't let this continue. It looks like they might have snapped out of whatever was going on against Mexico. Now, this is one game. But when they finally got things to click in the World Cup, they lost on penalties. So we don't know how far they would have gone or what would have changed coming out of that Sweden game. This is going to at least give us some kind of idea that they were able to evolve and grow during a tournament. Now they have a chance to continue that process. So we'll see how things go in the semifinals and then ultimately the final if they get that far. But U.S. Women's National Team win a knockout game, defeat Colombia to advance to the W Gold Cup semifinals. That is all for this edition of the Weekend Roundup. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. I'll see you next time.